Well, I guess it was about 4 years ago when I was going through numerous applications and doing about 20, 30 interviews a week. I was looking for our newest production coordinator here at the TV studio. And I have to tell you what a relief it was when this gentleman here walked through the door. Chris?
What do you say after that? I'm blown away by the kind. I'm assuming kind words. I guess you never really said whether it was a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, I didn't get there yet. No, it was absolutely a good thing. I mean, you have just done so much for the studio in the last couple years. Why don't we start? I want to kind of go back to how you were feeling during those first couple weeks, and even further. How did you actually find out about Oakcrest?
You know, I guess I got hired in December, so I think I probably applied November-ish is probably when I first made contact with Oakcrest. And I had been out of college at that point for about 5 months, and it was tough. You know, even at that point, you know, we look at the economy now and it's tough, but you know, even back then it was difficult, and TV is such a hard field to get your foot in the door. And I was looking everywhere for a job, you know, all the ABCs, all the NBCs, all the CBSs, MPT, all of them. And I stumbled across this fledgling little TV network called RLTV, which for those of you at home that may not know, that was John Erickson's TV venture, going out into and trying to get, you know, television for seniors. And I found this job and I looked into it, but I didn't think it was right for me at the time. Well, I have such a great support system at home with friends and family. And my friend Brian, who works in television as well, was helping me through the whole time, constantly sending me job offers, or not offers, but applications and things like that. And one he sent me was for a retirement community called Oakcrest. And I have to admit, I looked at it and I went, really? Senior citizens? And the thing is I walked through the door, and for the first time when you interviewed me, and I was blown away. I mean, like, I think that's becoming a consistent thing here. But I was almost in the same mentality you were. This was such an amazing place, and it was so great to get the opportunity to see seniors working alongside people my age to create television. I mean, I came from Towson University and I worked at their TV station, WMJF, and I really feel a kinship between Towson's TV station and Oakcrest, because even though it is a TV station and we're creating such great programming, it was so much fun at the same time. And that's one of the things that when I walked in Oakcrest, I could feel from day one. And I think that's, you know, why I needed this job. You know, I needed to work here.
Was that the difference? I mean, when you looked at ABC and NBC, those studios, what's the difference there?
Everything is so cold. You know, I mean, I understand it's news and I understand where, you know, why they have to be the way they are. But when I walked in here, it felt warm. You know, I mean, my first day here, I remember, you know, residents in the hallways greeting me. They never met me before, and I had people saying hi to me. Staff members, employees. I mean, I remember at the time, Jim Truitt was our manager. This was before we had you were the lead coordinator.
Right.
Jim was one of the nicest people I'd ever met. And then I proceeded to meet even more people, and everyone saying hello. And I remember one specific interview that was at a TV station down in DC. I walked into the newsroom, and I don't think one person said hi to me, except for the person doing the interview. And I think she barely said hi to me.
Right.
But it was just the warmth walking into this place. And knowing that when you described the job to me, that I'd get the opportunity to do so much. I'm not pigeonholed to one job. I get the opportunity to sample all these different things. It was, for lack of a better term, it was love at first sight.
What would you say, Chris, is the advantage to having your viewers right here in-house?
I don't think there's anybody out there that would have the opportunity to get such instantaneous feedback.
Right.
You know, it's like we do a show and it cracks me up every time. Whenever I do the weather segment, I swear to you, at least once every weather segment, there's a resident that within an hour of me doing the weather, I'll be walking down the hallway and someone will be like, I saw you on weather today. Good job.
Right.
And you know how wonderful that feels? To just have these people supporting you and to get them to within an hour, 45 minutes even, to tell you how great you did. I mean, you don't get that anywhere else. There's nowhere else that you get that experience.
I mean, now that you brought up the weather, I have heard from a lot of residents, they question me. They said, did you send this guy to meteorology school? How in the heck does he know so much about the weather and the actual terms that go along with it? I mean, did you have experience as a weatherman before you got here and you just left that off your resume?
No, I didn't. You know, I remember just a couple weeks ago, I was showing you guys that video I was getting together some videos for my mom for her birthday. And there's this video that we found tucked away somewhere where if you've ever been to Norfolk, Virginia, residents, they have this place called Nautilus, which is very similar to an aquarium type of deal. But there they actually have, it's sponsored by the Weather Channel, and you could go and practice on the green screen. You guys have seen me doing the green screen weather. And Josh laughed, even back then it was showing that I was getting ready to do the weather at that point.
You were prepared
I
for
was,
that weather
I was.
forecast.
I think I like the weather because, with general news and stuff like that, you're so, there's bad stories and there's good stories, but I feel like a lot of weather, you get to have fun with it. That's the one aspect of news where you're just like, you can be goofy and you can be bouncy and all that stuff. And I think that really fits my personality well.
Well, you can also be wrong. I mean, how many jobs can you come in and do and get it completely wrong?
I think that's
and still do it the next week.
I think I tell that to everybody anytime we do the weather. It's weathermen are the only people that can be wrong 90% of the time and still have jobs.
That's right.
Oh my God, yeah. And I'm not without my fair share of incorrect predictions, I mean, we've done ones where I'll say to the residents, we're going to have clear skies throughout the day. 10 minutes later, it's raining. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because that one story, that's the thing about weather. They've been working on it for so many years, but the science is still so unpredictable, So
the weather is probably only 10 minutes of your job on a daily basis.
Sure.
Let's talk about some of the other things you do. What do you think over the years has really been your favorite thing to do here in the studio?
I think if I had to kind of think about it is, we do all these activities on a yearly basis. On an annual basis, we've got all these great activities. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of like the turkey trot, and we did grand illumination for a while, and now we do holiday happenings. One of my favorite things about this job is every year trying to find new ways to present these events. I remember the second year I was here, we did the March Madness competition with the fitness center. And I mean, it's fun to create these packages and be goofy with it, but getting an opportunity to experiment in different things. So what I decided to do was I decided to create an ESPN style package with all these graphics, and here's who came in first place, and here's how many baskets they got. And I think that's been one of my favorite things is with the normal I hate to keep comparing other TV stations, but...
Well, they don't compare.
No, not at all, of course. But not only the fact that I get to do all these different jobs, but I can experiment. I can try new things. And it's not like if something I do fails, I'm going to get fired over it. We've tried different things, and some things have worked and some things haven't worked. I mean, just last year, I pitched to you guys doing Flashback Fridays and Oakcrest Update and Community Connections. And I think they've worked out great. It filled some blocks in some open holes in our time. Some other things that we've tried in the past, we tried to keep doing Question of the Week. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it was a little too much work for us, so we decided to nix it. And I think that's been my favorite thing. Is just it's so carefree, and we have such a great time here at Good Morning Oakcrest. I think that's probably what I'd have to say is my favorite aspect of the job.
Excellent. Well, what do you think? I mean, you've been involved in so many different projects over the years. Is there a project that really stands out besides that March Madness? Something that really stands out, you put a lot of time into, maybe, even too much time into, that you really sculpted and said, hey, that's my legacy at Oakcrest so far. This is what I am very impressed with.
Okay, I think I have two answers for this one. First is our friends, the Village Vaudevillians. The first year I came here, I started in December. They did their annual play in January. I believe the first one I did was Destination Deadwood, which was the sequel to the previous year's play, which I think at this current moment is escaping my mind. But Destination Deadwood, I came in and I edited the play, and I think I may have spent a little too much time, but I still think came out great. I created this DVD menu from scratch with tumbleweeds and a sign that creaked back and forth, and creating these scenes and these menus and all this stuff. That probably was one of the things. And even in the years since then, whenever they did the play, I always opted to edit their annual play so that I could, again, I created one for Tickets Please, and then I created one for Captain's Outrageous. And I just have so much fun because it's an opportunity to be creative and something that so many residents get to see, because so many people buy those DVDs that I know that there's somebody out there that has to have seen it. And Tom is so complimentary every time I do these DVDs. Tom Foster, he tells me every time how much he loves those DVDs, and it means a lot to me to hear that. Now, if I had to say my second thing, it's very similar to that. It's all the show opens that I've done. Baby Love, I created an entire baby room in 3D in our After Effects program, and just to have this one little camera move where it tilts down and there's a baby that crawls across the screen.
Right.
That's it, you know? And then our weather segment, and we did the Sex After 60. I did the intro for that. I like doing those intros because, again, it's an opportunity to be creative. And for the most part, most of the shows that I've created intros for are stuff that we didn't have before. They're new programming. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. I really think it's worth mentioning that these intros that they're seeing to a lot of these shows, it's not stock footage. This is not things that are created. Chris usually is creating this from scratch, taking each element, taking that baby, building the walls to the room, moving a virtual camera.
It's all little puppetry. I mean, for pretty much, for lack of a better term, I mean, looking back at the Baby Love intro, I mean, it literally was, we have a program called Photoshop, which is a photo manipulation program. Took it, created a fake wall, put in wallpaper, put in the little trim up at the top, put a border at the bottom, then took that, simulated the wall twice, built different sides to a frame, put the frame together. And I mean, there's programs out there that make that task so simple.
Right.
But for me, I almost enjoy the work of trying to figure out, well, okay, why does it look like this baby wall is half in the wall, half out? And it sounds so complicated, but for me, it's a problem-solving game. You know, it's like trying to figure out why it doesn't work.
But it helps you grow. It helps you learn the programs more. And it really enriches our programming beyond belief.
Right.
I mean, we should not take that for granted. Looking back, you know, at 15 years of TV here at Oak Crest, that's one of the things we have the edge now. We never had that before. These graphics were not being created the way they are now. The technology wasn't even there to create them in that way. So I think looking back over the programming over the years, that's one of the main differences, and that's what needs to be acknowledged.
And one of the things, real quick, before we move on, that I do want to mention, which I don't want this person to go without their due as well, Brianna Sisk, intern extraordinaire, as we called her, who has gone on to such big and great things. She's a huge part of that too. You know, I kind of turned it into a little bit of a game when I first started here, because Brianna was producing these amazing intros, and so I almost made it a little mini competition to see if I could outdo her and come up with something bigger and better and greater. And I really do owe a lot of the stuff that I've done here at Oak Crest to her, because without her, I mean, not just with the little quote unquote competition that I'm coming up with, but she, you know, would help me when I would get stuck on a problem, and I would do the same. You know, we'd work through things, and she's been a huge influence on me, even since she's left, you know.
So what's next for the TV studio?
What's next?
I had mentioned that I want to see us branching out, really bringing outside people in with the TV studio.
One word I got for you right now: 3D.
One word I got it for you right now: no.
All right.
Talk about expensive. That's the thing. We have to get to HD first, and then maybe we can evolve from there to HD 3D.
We've had enough trouble trying to get all those little Comcast boxes in all the residence apartments. I don't know if the red and cyan glasses are going to be any easier.
I don't know about that. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time. As always,
always happy to.
Been a pleasure.